The p-value approach is the second approach that we'll learn for hypothesis testing. The p-value is the probability, assuming our null hypothesis is true, of getting a test statistic at least as extreme as the test statistic we calculate from our sample. This is also known as the observed significance level. So here is the decision rule that we'll be using. There is only one decision rule, in that if our p-value is less than our alpha, we reject the null. If our p-value that we find is greater or equal to the alpha value, we do not reject the null. This process gives us more information than the critical value approach, although they are related. Recall I described the critical value approach is like taking a class as pass or fail. The p-value approach tells you how strongly you will reject or accept a decision. It's like taking a class for a grade, where an A is a strong class grade and an F is a poor class grade. Thus, the farther away our p-value is from the alpha value, the stronger the decision. So let's visualize what a p-value actually is. So we stated that if the p-value is less than our alpha, that means the area of the p-value sits within the shaded region. So here I've got my lower tail test and upper tail test as examples. And based on our alpha, say our alpha is 0.05. That means it starts right here, and there's 5% or 0.05 area right here in the shaded region. So if it turns out our p-value for our test statistic is smaller, let's say it's 0.01, that means if I had to draw the area, it's within the shaded region because it's smaller than my alpha value. So if we imagine this blue area is my alpha of 0.05, and then I imagine the p-value we calculated using the test statistic and Excel is smaller, it's somewhere in here. That means we know we're in the rejection region, and now we know how strong of a rejection we have. Note that for a two-tail test, because I have two tails on either side, you will have to double the p-value that you found from the test statistic and in Excel, and then compare it to the alpha. So if you use Excel, the formula that I provide requires you to double the area, and that way you can account for the two tails. Let's go ahead and do problem 4. We're going to compute the p-value, assuming that the hypothesis test is a one-tailed test. And we're actually going to use Excel. So in part A, our z-value is 1.61. Since it's a positive value, we know we're going to be in the upper region. So this is an upper one-tailed test. So if I draw my z-value, we can imagine it to be right here at 1.61. But I want to know the actual p-value, or the shaded blue area right here. So I'm going to use this formula where we do equals 1 minus norm.s.dist. We will enter the z-value and type in true. This should look familiar since we did this in previous chapters. Recall that anytime we're doing a greater than or an upper tail test, we are going to do 1 minus our formula. So using our Excel, we've got our formulas here to find a p-value when the population standard deviation is known. In other words, we're working with z-values. So we're working with an upper tail test, and I have a little note here that reminds you that upper tails are positive z-values. So I'll type in 1 minus norm.s.dist, parentheses, our z-value was 1.61, comma, true. And so the p-value is 0.0537. So we can see that the p-value, or the area here, is 0.0537. Now, if our alpha that we compare it against is 0.05, then our p-value is not less than our alpha. But let's say we have a different alpha. What if our alpha was 0.10 or 10%? That means our p-value that we found here is less than our alpha, and we would reject the null. So it all depends on what your alpha is that you choose, and then what your p-value looks like after you solve for it. Let's go ahead and do part B. The z-value here is given to us at negative 1.34. So recall that in our distributions, if it's on a negative number, so that means we're working with a lower tail test. And if I draw where my negative 1.34 is, I can imagine it to be right around here. And we're interested in less than, so I'm going this way. To use Excel, we're going to use the formula equals norm.s.dist. We'll plug in our z-value of negative 1.34 and type in true. So let's see it in Excel. So again, here we're finding our p-value when we know the population standard deviation because it was a z-value. And since it's a lower tail test, that means we have a negative z-value. I'll type in equals norm.s.dist parentheses. Our z-value was negative 1.34, comma, true. And so our p-value is 0.0901. So this area right here, our p-value is 0.0901. And again, we want to compare this with whatever alpha value was decided by our business decision maker. So is our alpha value 0.05, or is it 0.1, or is it some other number? If our p-value is less than the alpha, we will reject the null. If it's greater than our alpha, we will not reject the null, because that means our p-value is over here in the do not reject region. So in summary, in the Excel file, whenever you're doing a lower tail test, your p-value is going to use this formula, and note that your z should be less than 0 or a negative value. If you're working with an upper tail test, you'll use this formula here, and the z-value should be greater than 0, which means it's positive. For a two-tail test, you'll use this formula here, and note that it's 2 times 1 minus the norm.s.dist formula, because we have to double the p-values. So I actually want to go back to the Stone Brewing example we did in the other video, and now we can actually find the p-value for Stone Brewing. So recall that in that example, we were looking for 16 ounces of beer in our cans. So it was a two-tailed test. And so using this formula here, I'm going to go back and look at the test statistic we found in part B on your worksheet, which was 3.32. So going here to our formula for our two-tailed test, when we know the population standard deviation, we'll type in equals 2 times 1 minus norm.s.dist parentheses, and I've got an absolute z, meaning whenever you type in your z value, do not put in a negative, just put it at the positive version of it. So that was 3.32, comma, true, close parentheses, and make sure you have enough parentheses to close your statement. And when you hit enter, we can see our p-value is 0.0009. So if you recall, the alpha value in the Stone Brewing example was 0.10, and our p-value here is 0.0009. It's much smaller than our alpha value. That means it's a very small area in the rejection region. So the p-value has the same conclusion as our critical value approach, which is we do reject the null, and we know that the cans are not getting filled at 16 ounces, so we have to fix the machine. So let's go ahead and look at problem 19. It's actually one of our homework problems. I've modified it slightly for the lecture. So California's average annual household spending on food in 2017 was $3,789. Suppose a random sample of 137 households in Oceanside was taken to determine whether the average annual expenditure on food was less for consumers in Oceanside than in the state. Based on the sample results, can it be concluded at the alpha of 0.05 level of significance that the average consumer spending for food in the city is less than the state average? Note that our sample average in Excel is the equals average formula, and the sample standard deviation is the std_ev.s formula. So before we even get to Excel, let's make sure we understand the null and alternative hypotheses. So we're looking for the clues here. Is this a one or two-tailed test? If it's a one-tailed test, it's going to have directional language, greater than, less than. And I can already see I've got less than mentioned a few times here. So that means we know we're going to be doing a one-tail, lower-tail test. And in this case, the population mean is given to us for California at 3,789. So we'll go ahead and write that the population mean for alternative is less than the 3,789. Once I've set up my alternative hypothesis, I then know what my null hypothesis is because it's just everything else. It's the opposite. It'll be greater than or equal to 3,789. Note that your null and alternative hypotheses when next together should include all possible values, right? So no number is missing at all from our analysis. Finding all the pieces we need, our alpha is the 0.05. Our sample size is the 137 households in Oceanside. Our sample mean we will get using Excel as well as our sample standard deviation. So I'll go ahead and zoom in so you can see better. So to get the average, I'll do equals average. And actually, I can just select the whole column, or you can highlight all the cells. You just want to make sure you don't miss any numbers. Close parentheses and hit enter. So there's my average. And then for the sample standard deviation, I'll type in stdev.s for sample, parentheses, and select all my data, close out, and hit enter. I want to go ahead and round this to make it neater. So depending on what the homework asks for, 4 decimal places, 2 decimal places, you can go ahead and round to where you need it to go using the decimal mover here. So going back, I'll enter my sample mean and my sample standard deviation. And then for our degrees of freedom, that's just n minus 1. So taking our 137 homes minus 1 gives us a degrees of freedom of 136. Next we want to look at is to remind ourselves, is this a upper or lower or two-tailed test? So the alternative hypothesis is what's going to tell you if it's an upper, lower, or two-tailed test. Because it's less than, it's pointing to the left, over to the lower side of our distribution. This is a lower tailed test. So let's now go ahead and do our steps. In part A, we come up with the decision rule. We will reject the null if our calculated value of the test statistic t, that's over here, is blank than the critical value blank. Otherwise, we do not reject. So to know which direction for our decision, just look at the alternative hypothesis. Because it says less than, this is also going to be less than. And to find the critical value, you can use the appendix F using our degrees of freedom and our alpha value, or you can use Excel. So using Excel, since we don't know the population standard deviation, right, we're working with t-values, and it's a lower tail test, we're working on the left side, I'll do equals t.inv parentheses our alpha of 0.05 and the degrees of freedom of 136. Close out, and I get my t-value of negative 1.6561. So I can write it at negative 1.656. So for part B, we'll now go ahead and calculate our test statistic by plugging in our sample mean, our hypothesized population mean, our sample standard deviation, and the square root of our sample size. So plugging in the numbers, this we got from Excel, this we got from our hypothesized values, the sample standard deviation from Excel, and our sample size of 137. Remember, solve the top separately from the bottom so that you avoid any errors in order of operation. So my sampling error is negative 523.86, and our standard error is 22.74. Then divide the two numbers, and I get a test statistic of negative 23.04. Now, based on a critical value approach, you'll just compare our test statistic in part B against our critical value in part A. So our conclusion is that because our test statistic of negative 23.04 is less than our critical value of negative 1.656, and if you imagine our distribution, where's that cutoff point and where's the negative 23.04? It's way to the left, way in the rejection region. We will reject the null and can conclude that the population mean for money spent on food in Oceanside is less than our state average of $3,789. So that's the critical value approach. In part D, we'll go ahead and find the p-value. And so we'll use this formula equals t.dist, and we'll enter our t-value, our degrees of freedom, and true. So the t-value that we found in part B was the negative 23.04. Our degrees of freedom, our n minus 1, was 136. So looking for our p-value when we don't know the population standard deviation, so this is a lower tail test, I'll type in equals t.dist parentheses the negative 23.04, comma, the degrees of freedom of 136, comma, true, close out, and I get 0.0000. In other words, that p-value that we have for this particular test statistic is very small. I can go out more decimals and see how small, but at 4 decimal places, you know it's tiny. We're good. So what does this mean? Because our p-value of 0.0000 is less than our alpha value, means it's tinier, it's smaller, we will reject the null and can conclude that the population mean for money spent in Oceanside on food is less than the state average of $3,789. So as you can see, you'll end up with the same conclusion for the p-value approach and the critical value approach. The only difference is that with the p-value approach, you now know the strength of the rejection, and with the critical value approach, it's more like a pass-fail. We either reject or do not reject. So if you have any questions, just let me know.